Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me. Manny Uwakwe couldn't be here. He blew his back out deadlifting, which is truly the most finance bro way to go out in style. We got a video of him, though, so you can see what I mean. But that's actually part of the whole talk. Okay, so I'm from an SEC-registered company. These are disclaimers. Basically, this is not investment advice because that's why you come to a Python conference. Don't sue us. Thank you. Okay, so why would I need to say that? So Opto, where we work, is playing in the $12 trillion of invested capital private market space, things like hedge funds, venture capital, and the like. Basically, this entire field of trying to take capital and move it to where capital is needed is fundamentally broken. It's like effectively legalized insider trading. It's completely trashed. And so we're trying to fix that. And what that's going to take is a lot of software knowledge and a lot of knowledge from financial experts. So if Opto were a marriage, this is what AI thinks Manny and I would be. That's me, the Silicon Valley engineer. Manny's very, very dapper here. He didn't like the headshot that I got originally. Wanted to get the, the nice V cut there. But Manny is a hobbyist pythonista. That's how we actually got to know each other. He wrote this really cool Django app to try to schedule his investment calls. And he wanted to share it with his boss. And he said, hey, this guy doesn't really not super technical savvy. How do we install Python on his computer? And I said, that's what's great. You don't. We make it a web app. And we've been pretty good friends ever since. So, he loves to solve really hard, interesting problems. He's had a pretty storied career on Wall Street. And I've been adjacent to people like that and really enjoy it. And also, I was building a lot of generative AI infrastructure at Primer prior to coming to Opto. But what I found with Manny, who is covering and investing in a lot of companies in the AI space, also really enjoys it. He's kind of my AI hipster. He's the one that is into interesting new tools. He's the one that's played with the new hotness and tells me about new cool stuff. And I think that's something very, very beautiful in terms of how approachable it is to someone that isn't a professional engineer that spent a ton of time on this. And that's where we came up with this talk and really what we've tried to do at Opto. So trying to build a bridge between technical and subject matter experts. So what we want to share today, or I guess I, on behalf of we, want to share today is how does one build this bridge? Bonus points if you know what the bridge is. All right. ChatGPT is the gateway drug. This is where we're going to start. So first off, to level set, I know lots of people know about ChatGPT. A shockingly large number of people have not tried it, including software engineers that you know and love. So getting people over the hump of like, hey, this is something you should try and at least check out and see what the hype is all about is really important. There's definitely, I'd say, two poles in terms of people's experience. One is this thing freaks me out in that kind of like uncanny valley. The second arena is more of the, well, it has a lot of errors. It's like 80% right. Great. Think about it like copying and pasting from Stack Overflow, okay? You need to think like a real engineer. You need to be skeptical and critical of the code that you see here, the same way as if an intern brought it to you. But that doesn't mean that an intern or doing an internship is worthless. It means you just have to have that degree of skepticism. So I think that's really, really important to get people over that hump of like, this is a useful tool, or this is what it actually is. So to talk about a really specific, cool example, okay, so to the, here we go. This is, we're using Linear, which is kind of like a Jira or Bugzilla ticket tracker to do our deployments. One of the fellows we're working with, Rohan Patel, is building these status reports that he sends out to clients and internal people about how these deployments are going. Well, it's a pain in the ass to do manually. Can we build something around this? So Rohan and I sat down in a client site in Denver, Colorado, and I showed him how I could copy and paste a CSV dump of Linear ticket data into ChatGPT and use this very prompt to tune things up, and we could replace his manual write-ups. So you can imagine Rohan and I go back and forth. We're treating this kind of like a REPL. He learns, oh, I can add language to change the way that this output is formatted. I can add some examples, so he learns about zero-shot versus few-shot prompting. I can clarify the requirements about how the information is supposed to come back. We start to get into this kind of REPL-y feel, and it stops being so mystical, and he starts to understand where the problems are too, right? So we started to use things like this where we sat with people and sort of iterated with them on prompts and then say, hey, guess what? You can actually edit this stuff in GitHub, and then you're going to get the updated prompt. So about a third of our non-technical staff in the subsequent weeks asked for GitHub access, which is something we've been pushing for literally years. They wanted it really badly because they saw I can do something that is valuable to me that's not scary anymore. And they'd open a PR, and now we've opened this wide new world of coding to them, okay? How do you want to extend this? Here are some thoughts here. How are we going to get them into Python? We got them into the gateway drug. What's our heroin now? Python is the heroin. We found that teaching people the basics of Python is really valuable. So getting them up to like really that low intermediate stage of understanding how built-ins work, and also doing things like using the request library to call an API, shout out to Swappy, and then work with stuff like JSON, write it to CSV. You get to that point and people really are starting to be able to make scripts that solve problems for themselves, where ChatGPT is a wonderful co-pilot or helper. Also getting people to set up a dev environment. They have this like Neo in the Matrix moment where they realize the tools that I'm working with were made by someone no smarter than I am, to paraphrase our friend from Apple. And using tools like Cursor. We've seen amazing stuff come from non-technical new grads using Cursor that just have put the time in to try to use it. It's fantastic. So one big thing to keep in mind here, it really helps to tell people you're not trying to make production grade software. You are building a working prototype to illustrate to the nerds what you need from them or what we want to build from them. This is a language that we can use in an interface we can communicate on. The full-time engineers like me, we're still very, very employable. Okay, so like what happened with Manny, I was able to look at something and say, hey, I can make this a web app and a lot of people can use it. We can do that too. We're here to look at productionizing software, how we can make software maintainable and scalable and tested. What are the non-obvious patterns or things that are obvious to us, like version control? People in finance have no bloody clue what version control is, okay? That's not part of their world. That's obvious to us, right? That's a big deal, okay? So we standardized a lot of this into a course. We called it Skynet Academy with a nod to Mr. Schwarzenegger. What we found was having something where you give people a little bit of pre-work and a little bit of a lecture about a topic, and then having them do hands-on projects to demystify and say, yeah, I can do this too, was really valuable. Okay, we had a low-code version and a high-code version we called the Terminator version. This is a place where having Manny was totally invaluable, because same deal. Hey, I'm a finance guy, but I was able to pick this up, and actually I'm teaching Paul stuff. That was awesome. That really, really helped bond people. When we talk about the foundational tech, and we certainly had engineers who thought, this is AI or this is ML, I can't do it. They're thinking about a prior generation to LLMs and all the easy stuff that we have when you had to train models yourself. We started to focus on things like working with Elasticsearch, what embeddings were, using semantic search where we could pull people away from that whole world of like, I need to do RAG for all the things. Okay, great, no, this is just semantic search. You learned about this in school, or you learned about this 20 years ago. And then of course RAG too. So we had these fun things. They're like, so we called them the Terminators, the high code version. And that's our Optonaut, our spirit human. I don't know what a spirit human is, okay. And then here's Manny. Manny couldn't be here again, so let's see if we can get this to work. Oh.
I do apologize that I'm not there in person, as I'm currently in New York, but I did want to send my regards as I deliver these remarks. Brief background about myself. I spent 6 years at JP Morgan doing cross-asset derivatives trading, and I came over to Opto Investments about 2.5 years ago. I learned how to code really by watching YouTube videos, making random stuff, doing side projects. And I think the skill set that I developed really helped me drive different initiatives forward here at Opto as it relates to creating analytics tools for our clients, et cetera, et cetera. I think the use of AI is really transformational for both engineering staff and non-engineering staff. And the reason why is because it provides a level of abstraction that allows both parties to communicate together. About 4 months ago, I delivered a presentation at an internal offsite that we had here at Opto, which was really focused on different business units and different use cases within our organization, and how we could use AI to drive efficiency, scale, and improve client satisfaction by injecting AI within these workflows. And so it was certainly well received, which is obviously why I'm now here giving this talk to you. And so overall, the use of AI, it is my view that it can really improve the communication between engineering folks and non-engineering folks. And I've seen that firsthand. It's really helped me improve not only the quality, but also the quantity of code that I can put out as it relates to building different analytical tools, for our clients, different portfolio monitoring, objectives for our clients. These are all things that are within, my business unit as it relates to investment decision-making, as it relates to analysis, as it relates to investment research, and then being able to effectively leverage our engineering staff to really make this stuff production level code that is safe for our client base has been really transformational. So I do want to thank you for your time. If you guys are interested in what Opto does, if you're interested in what I do, if you're interested in what PK does, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm available. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Manny. Appreciate you in the ether, my friend. Yeah, so that's Manny speaking. I think one last thing I was thinking about with him too is, one of the big things that I find hobbyist coders have challenges with is, being nervous about showing their code to someone that's been doing this for a long time. What I did with him, I took some code from this guy Ruben, who writes the most gorgeous Python code ever. And I said, hey, put this in as a prompt in ChatGPT, drop your code in and tell it to make it look like Ruben's, and it works. It's totally transformational, and that totally lowers, again, that barrier to feeling confident to talk to someone like me about your code and what you're trying to do, where you don't get a pedantic person lost in the weeds of like, nah, you didn't do an F string, or whatever else it is. F strings are awesome, but yeah. Okay, come talk to us if you want. Thank you so much for your kind attention.